The first scene of The Good Doctor Season 6 Episode 1 takes place 6 hours after the stabbings of Dr. Lim and Nurse Dolly Say. Sean was disoriented and covered in blood. Dr. Glassman was able to awaken him. Devastation has ruined the lovely high point of Sean and Lee's wedding day. We are abruptly thrust into the dramatic finale of what happened when Dolly Say's ex-husband stabbed Lim and Dolly Say. When Lim awoke, Dolly Say was bleeding profusely as Sean and Lee were enjoying their first dance. Dr. Andrews was in an elevator when she was able to phone him, but the line was cut off. In the elevator with them was Dolly Say's ex-husband, portrayed by Terry Chen. Andrews calmly questioned him about the blood on his neck and shoes. He obviously lied. Security personnel confronted him as he left. After stabbing the guard, he snatched his gun and started shooting at any advancing guards. The hospital was secured with locks. Dr. Allen and Lee insisted on helping, as did Sean. They located Lim and Dolly Say and began helping them. After stabilizing them, Andrews and Glassman hurried them to the operating room. Dr. Park, who was angry that he had departed, contacted Dr. Resnick from the outside. Resnick and Dr. Wilkie located a guy they believed to be the gunman, but he was experiencing severe stomach trouble. He was helped into a safe room by them. Lee was made to perform surgical support for the doctors as a nurse. She sobbed because this was the result of her wedding day. But she needed to show strength for her coworkers. Glassman made a wise decision to save Lim's life while operating on him. Sean disagreed, arguing that the procedure would shorten her life expectancy by taking out half of her liver. He gave Sean his orders and walked away. Sean, however, disregarded that choice. Glassman made a similar choice after being drawn to Andrews, who was operating on Dolly Say. When Glassman came back, he was angry that Sean had disobeyed his directive. Sean's decision had to be carried out because there was no other option. Although there was a minor issue, the treatment was successful. Wilkie snuck off in search of supplies to heal the man who was with Resnick and Wilkie when he began to experience shock. Wilkie was apprehended by the shooter. Wilkie responded to his question by explaining that they needed to operate on the patient in order to save his life. When the SWAT team approached, the shooter shot at them while using Wilkie as a shield. With 3 hostages, Dolly Say's ex-husband yelled at law enforcement as they backed into the room where Resnick was. Wilkie and Resnick argued that the man needed surgery immediately, but he insisted that they carry it out in that room, so she had to make a phone call. Wilkie, Nurse Jerome's boyfriend, was one of the hostages, it was revealed to him. He concentrated on operating on Dolly Say. Resnick called Park for assistance with surgery. In the end, the shooter decided to let Resnick and the patient leave because successful surgery couldn't be done in the space. Wilkie was compelled to remain. Ironically, the shooter spoke to Wilkie about Dolly Say's condition and his abusive father, promising not to act in the same way, but ultimately doing so. Wilkie revealed that his father was terminally ill and that they had no time to mend their relationship. Dolly Say X had time to atone, though. Surgeons gave Lim a briefing while she was awake. She made an effort to move but ran into problems. Her heart, that is. Wilkie persuaded the individual to report himself. He asked if Dolly Say was still alive, then completely disarmed the weapon and handed Wilkie the rounds. Wilkie was uncertain. The shooter entered the hallway carrying an empty weapon and was shot by SWAT. Wilkie hurried the shooter to the operating room for care. The group, though, was in a pickle. They had insufficient blood supply. Andrews and Glassman decided to put the shooter, rather than Lim, on a bypass machine. Sean firmly objected because he was the root of all the problems. Sean was defeated by Andrews and Glassman in their pledge to rescue lives. Without the bypass machine, Lim's surgery was significantly more challenging. Sean panicked after warning Andrews. As he was being led away, he had a vision of his deceased younger brother while playing on a train. Sean's knowledge on the surgery was essential, so the crew FaceTimed him, even though Glassman was called back into the operating room. He yet saw his brother in his dreams, and he was persuaded to save Lim. He began to concentrate at that point and saw a vision of how to save Dr. Lim. After Sean went back to the operating room and gave the surgeons the advice they needed to rescue Lim, she stabilized. The hospital could reopen without risk. Jerome and Wilkie declared their love for one another. Dolly Say and her ex-husband were both kept alive. When Sean saw his brother Steve, he informed him that his death wasn't his fault, Sean admitted to Lee. Sean has been troubled by something for a long time. He acknowledged that without her assistance, he would not have been able to save Lim. He was happy to have her as his wife. Resnick and Park gave each other hugs. Resnick decided against leaving for the position. Park urged her to change her mind because he was aware that she had put her work before their relationship. She wouldn't change, he was certain, since it was just how she was. Lim lost feeling in her legs when she awoke. She was paralyzed.